Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live Mindfulness Wednesday. I think we're pretty much almost right on time on my end. And it looks like maybe if you're going to show up, you will be here soon. So I'll give it a few more minutes. Have a drink of water. Hello, as you're coming in, I am here with Mindfulness Wednesdays. If you're dropping by, good to see you. And today we're going to start the practice with a little bit of a focus on something that is dear to my heart, and I think for everybody, and the topic of love. So as you're coming in, if you're joining, welcome. And we'll just give a few more minutes for people to show up. So possibly ponder just that big topic, the topic of love. And maybe imagining all the different ways that you love, all the different people you may love. Often that's what we associate love with. But we could think about love as being pretty vast in its applications. And we could think about the places that we love, the animals that we love, the things of nature that we love. We could think of good books that we love, or reading, or watching movies. And as you reflect on all of the things and places and people that you love, it might be notable and worthwhile to actually also think about all the people, places, and things that love you, and even ponder for the moment that love is a being, a verb. It's not a noun. So it's a state of being. And as such, it really offers us this great opportunity to think about what our state of being might be best experienced as. And I think it would be safe to say that most of us would love to experience the state of being of love. And what are the adjectives of love? Well, happy, expanded, maybe curious, grateful, hopefully, intrigued. Sometimes when we experience love, we might feel anticipation. So there's many, many different adjectives and adverbs that describe not only the state of love, but love itself. And if we think into that for a moment or two, as we ponder if we're going to have someone else showing up, and if not, that's okay too. I'll just keep going, and I'll do this practice as is, and you can always come back and view this at another time. So I'd like to begin just with, as I often do, with a quote, kind of to bring our minds around to the topic that I'm bringing forward today, which is the topic of love. And this quote comes from a very famous and very auspicious man. He was a philosopher in the last century, Teilhard de Chardin. And he wrote many famous books, Walden, Meditating on Walden Pond, various different books. And most of them were really reflections, honestly, on his experience of love and of the divine essence or of source. And as such, he was incredibly dedicated and devoted to cultivating that source within himself through his practice. And he offered a lot of insight into the practice of being still and mindful. And he came up with this quote after one of his long solitude stays in the mountains, I think in northern Connecticut, upstate New York somewhere. Anyways, the quote is, "The day will come when, after harnessing space, the winds, the tides, and gravitation, we shall harness for Source, or God, the energies of love. And on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, in the accomplishments of mankind, we shall have discovered fire." On that day, for the second time in the history of humankind, we shall have discovered fire. And if you think about this quote, it's really very packed with wisdom and also insight. And I think, the idea that fire really has got us technologically to where we are today. It's really what separated us from the animals. And even, the earlier human iterations, the Homo sapiens and even the Neanderthals, like fire was what separated us, what brought us to this day. And we could not be where we are without fire. And what is fire exactly? Well, somebody figured out that this, lightning that lit a fire that came after a thunderstorm and decimated a forest, that potentiality was incredible. And they were right, and they harnessed it. And whether they did that by capturing a spark after a lightning storm or by, rubbing two sticks together, it doesn't matter. What they did is they figured out that fire could be an incredible resource. And actually, the other really interesting thing that happened way back then, over 80,000 years ago, in addition to harnessing the power of fire and the element of fire, they started to cook meat, and then culture and society and humankind really changed from being hunters and gatherers, which weren't hunters at all in those days. They were really mostly gatherers because they didn't have fire and they couldn't cook meat. So what would they do with it? They wouldn't even know what to do with it. So after they harnessed the energy of fire, then they started to hunt, and that led into, of course, cooking. And it was that particular piece and that particular change in humans' approach to their evolution that actually developed our brain to be the brain that it is today. And it was the fat in the meat that was needed to evolve us past the animal, pre-human stage into this incredible brain that we have in our heads now. So that's a little story about just, fire in a roundabout way, talking about love. And if we backtracked again back to that conversation and we thought about what the sun does, well, the sun is actually consistently, day in and day out, burning. And that aspect of the life force energy is always around. It's always present. And a lot of the philosophers and a lot of the mystics, particularly, speak about that state of love that we just spoke about. As Teilhard de Chardin said, we will harness we will have discovered the same thing when we're able to harness the power of love and even harness it back for God and for the energy of life and for, the future of humankind. Imagine if we all were in the state of love and not in these other states that lead us to war and disruption and chaos and destruction. So this is really pivotal, I think, for us to think about this love state and how we can harness it in ourselves and cultivate it. So remembering that love is a verb, not a noun, and thinking about it as a state of being. And that's how we're going to do our practice today. So we'll go into our practice now because I'm getting a little bit into the time when we would need to start. And so allow yourselves to find a very comfortable, relaxed, and easy position that feels effortless. And once you achieve that and find that in your body and wherever you may be, close your eyes and allow your head to relax and perhaps the chin to just slightly move toward the heart. And at the same time, allow the heart to move up toward the chin. Take a few good, slow, conscious breaths, allowing yourself to come into your inner state, your inner landscape. And as you do so, just thinking about the topic of love, breathing love in if you are inclined, and releasing anything that is unlike love. And that could be anything from tension to distraction to judgment. And continue to breathe consciously and shaping the breath just a little bit right now, using that beautiful inhale to fill yourself up and that releasing exhale to empty out and to relax. And even taking that exhale a little bit further and possibly finding a slight bit of a pause at the end of your exhale before you rebound into the inhale and repeat the cycle. And then allowing everything to come into a gradually sort of diminished place of consciously breathing. In other words, not so much focus on your breath, and allowing your focus and your attention now to move toward your sensory being. And I'm going to invite you, first of all, to just listen. Listen for all of the sounds that exist in your environment, perhaps even outside of your direct environment, out the window, out your room, and attune your attention to this high level listening where nothing else is really that important other than what you hear in this moment. And often this may require that you continually cultivate your awareness toward listening because it will easily get distracted by the mind. The mind wants you to listen to it. But for now, we're just going to listen and then say thank you for sharing and move back to really allowing that single one-pointed focus to be on sound. And it may be such that you can hear not only my voice, but further out beyond your room, you may be able to hear the sounds of birds. That would be nice. Maybe the wind, possibly traffic, whatever arises, and allowing yourself to tune into it in the moment. And then we're going to move our attention into the same area in a bit of a deeper way, right back into your jaw, so below the ears, and just feeling into the jaw and allowing for the fact that maybe you're not on camera and nobody sees you, to give yourself permission to open up your jaw and relax it. So I like to encourage people to take a big wide yawn, as wide as you can make it without really hurting, your jaw. So as big as you can go, and then coming back slowly, and then taking your bottom teeth in front of your top teeth, like a Pekingese dog, and then releasing that, and then sliding your jaw side to side. So like that. And then go back to opening your jaw, and then releasing it by just doing like a cow would chew its kind of its curd or whatever. Just doing a bit of a wide yawn, and do it a few times, and then relax. And now allowing that sensory awareness of your jaw to be most present and the most prescient or important thing to pay attention to, and allow the tissue in your cheeks to relax completely. And interestingly enough, it's often a place of tension. What I like to encourage people to do is to actually take their tongue, mm, 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 mm. So you're just pushing your tongue into the flesh of your cheek. Mm, mm. You can make the M sound if it feels natural to you and available. And this really helps to just take some of that tension out of the face. So as we now move back into our practice, feeling like the cheeks are released, very soft and no tension. And then we'll move to the mouth and just allow for that whole root base of the tongue at the very back of the tongue to sink back in toward the throat, giving a sense of the whole throat softening and opening. And as you do that, there may be this kind of broadening right across the jaw line and even into the cheeks of a very gentle grin. Only you know you're smiling. It's your Mona Lisa smile. And letting that grin register in your sensory body. Let it register in the thought and emotional body. And allowing that registration of that feeling of a smile to connect to your heart and to that active verb of love. And I love that they pick up my garbage every Wednesday. I just don't love the noise the truck makes. But that's nothing to complain of, because, boy, I'm grateful for all that is. And so I invite you to think about that too, as a way that we actually express our love. And it's often through gratitude. And it's often very closely related to the feeling of love. So giving yourself this opportunity to just feel gratitude for whatever you may, reference today in your heart that you're grateful for. And it may be something that, goes beyond today, backwards or forwards in time, and just taking your time to feel into gratitude and to feel into that state of being that's gracious. And I invited you to notice the symbiotic, kind of the similarity really of love and gratitude. Just allowing those two things to be most present in the way that you attune to yourself in this moment. Keeping our gentle awareness kind and compassionate as we attune to the feeling and to the energy of love and of gratitude. And reminding yourself that your body is safe, your body breathes, and ideally your body's comfortable. And as we begin to slowly wind our way down, continuing to cultivate our awareness in the present moment in the space you occupy behind your eyes, I will just share something one of my favorite teachers said, and Adyashanti, and it was about love, actually. And he said, "It is not our job to seek out love. It is our job to seek out all of the places where in our being love does not exist or where we question it, knowing that the state of love is the state without fear, without grasping, and without attachment." So that, my friends, is really the crux of it, that love exists, and we are love, and we learn fear, we learn attachment, and the things that we learn are not necessarily true. So, but what is true is that you are love, and that you are in a universe where love is actually the most powerful force. So as we gradually and slowly wind our way down for today, just bringing back into your awareness this concept that you are love, and taking that even to a deeper visual, just visualizing this lovely light energy from the sun coming in, from the universe coming in, lovingly being there all the time, and coming in and down through into our heart, and then visualizing that cord connecting you like the umbilical, cord of energy gravity to this force of love. And you may want to, as we wrap up, visualize and imagine or see all of the people, the places, and things that you love, your dog, your friend, your garden, whatever it might be. And then breathing in and down into your being as we end. All of the people, places, and things that love you, knowing that you are loved, cherished, and that your existence is really important on this earth. And as we wrap up, just remembering where you are in the room, possibly remembering the shape of your body, breathing in and letting out a good sigh to release and to bring you back into the room. Good. So I don't know if I was here all by myself today, but even so, I think it's always worthy of showing up. And I will be here next week, and I hope you are too. And you can always come back to these recordings whenever you want. So be well, my friends, and stay in the love.